And Mexican Iron Man's in the house. Why aren't you in here? Says listening in from the office. That's why. Hi, Chris. Hail to brothers. I think he means brother nerds. Tom, Andre, and Culture. Question: what does the box office failure mean for A, Disney, B, Pixar, and C, the woke agenda in Hollywood? I.e., Chris comments.
Yes, and this is perfect because this was the next thing that I wanted to discuss. So thank you, Mike, for bringing that up. Let's discuss all of this in order. Chris, let's hear from you first. Here you have compounds. It's actually three questions in one. What do you think of this?
Well, first of all, Mexican Iron Man, Mike, hail to you, sir. I always love when Mike pops in. Cuts right to the chase. I think that I think looking at the current box office, there's a couple things that are encouraging. One, people are going back to the movies, right? That to me is encouraging. But two, the types of movies that have become the hits. And Top Gun could end up being one of the biggest of the year. And people are already talking about Oscars for that film, which is odd to have awards talk for something that's such a big hit. So I think if you look at it, and if I'm running a company that has an activist contingent, I'm going to be firing some people. I'm going to be firing some people. This should have been a home run, right? And I think a lot of factors. I think Disney is, at this point, Disney's their own worst enemy. And I think that and also, like, I mean, I'm of the opinion that if I hired talent like Chris Evans, you here, give me your Twitter password, never tweet, and here's what you're instructed to talk about, and keep it light and fun. And like, I think Henry Cavill to me is the best example of someone who understands fandom because he is a fan, and also a gentleman in all, in at times where he's been, when Cavill's been set up to say something against the audience or something that would make an incendiary or a clickbait headline, he knows how to avoid that, and he doesn't insult the audience. How is it that DC is so stupid that they leaned into, Ezra Miller and Amber Heard and like are leaving Henry Cavill on the table? They're leaving $1 billion on the table. Whatever your criticisms are of the first Man of Steel movie, it's like, yes, there's so, and it's been debated enough. A second Superman movie with Cavill in the lead is to me just queued up to be a home run, especially because I feel like he was so good in the Snyder Cut. So I think this has to have people within Hollywood finally waking up and taking notice. I will say this. I have friends of mine who work in the industry, mostly on the writing side of things, that tell me that people are now out loud finally saying the things that a lot of us think, that it's like and to the point of like making jokes like, oh yeah, we gotta, there's like, just people are more openly eye rolling, I think is what my friend said. That it's like, okay, we get it. Yeah, that didn't work. No one cares, right? Like a lot of this stuff is just for show. So yeah, I think it's, you would think, but like never count Hollywood out to not do something stupid. You know what I mean? I feel like if they could, if it's possible for them to make the wrong decision or be stupid about it, they will. And I think that this is just, I mean, how much more evidence do you need that audiences don't want this? When you see, like, when you're finally seeing, and I'm sorry if this rant's getting a little long, when you're finally seeing drag queens come out saying drag queens shouldn't be doing this in front of children, this is adult entertainment, you've lost the plot. Like, the pushback is real. The pendulum swinging back is real. When you have Hillary Clinton today saying, I don't want to go deep into that because I don't want to go down that kind of rabbit hole, but she's saying, look, you've gone to the point of nonsense now. Stop talking about this. This is not winning strategies. And I think the Tim Allen thing is not to be underestimated. Specifically, my daughter said, I don't want to see it. Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear, and that's it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to support it. So, and she could have seen it for free with me, and she refused. and has no interest in paying to see it. So, and she grew up with Toy Story, right?
Right.
So, yeah, it's I'm also sort of annoyed. A minor quibble. I'm annoyed how lazy these, the movie's called Lightyear. Can we get more lazy? Or the Batman movie is called The Batman. Can we are we trying to just replace Batman 1989? Fine, that's the name of that. But The Batman, okay, what are we trying to say? Can we be more creative with the titles of these
It's
movies?
annoying.
It's at least it's Thor, Love and Thunder. All right, cool.
It bothers me with things like the legacy sequels, as we've been calling them. How did we put that?
You mean like sequels? Halloween?
It's just called Halloween. Where they're the same, and Scream and all these other ones where they're the exact same name as 3 other movies already. It's like,
so then you've got to refer to them by their year in order to, in conversation, have a semi-coherent conversation about these films, especially ones that are long-standing franchises. It's like they're renumbering. Like no. Now when people Google Scream or Google Halloween, they're gonna come up with the most recent one, which is the one that has the more preferred politics of the day, right? And so it's a way to supplant the original, and I don't agree with that. I think they need more original titles so that we can talk about them, Otherwise, make something original. But Hollywood's not that's not a thing that they excel at.
That's not something they're really good at. So, Culture, what is your response to A, B, and C here?
Wow. Disney is in the process of its own internal culture battles that are being reflected in every sector of its business, whether it be through their employees, their earnings, their stock price. All of it's being reflected right now. And for them, it does continue to tarnish a brand that's already suffering under the weight of significant bad press. B, as far as Pixar goes, well, this has been an ongoing thing for the course of the last year with the devaluation, or maybe even 2 years with the devaluation of the Pixar brand. I think that we're seeing that being reduced down to basically Disney Plus. We've essentially made Pixar the direct-to-video aspect of the Disney company. That's what this means for that. But again, when you're driven by an agenda and not by good writing, good material, and something that resembles storytelling, I mean, what would you expect? And see, the woke agenda in Hollywood, I think you're seeing all of it exposed for what it is. I mean, you're starting to see major outlets like the financial influencer Forbes, and I'm not going to call them an authority any longer because that's been gone for a while. But when they start doing stories about how ESG is bad and all of the things surrounding these concepts is bad for business when it comes to studios and pretty much everything else. So it does hurt this, and we're starting to see a turn because you don't have to look very far and take a look at a somewhat reasonably received Jurassic World Dominion or something that was just absolutely beloved like Top Gun Maverick to recognize that you are still in the flimsiest of minority positions that you could be coming from that perspective. But Chris Evans' comments didn't help things. In fact, it just displays a level of ignorance, as Chris eloquently described earlier about 30 minutes ago in one of his wonderful rants. He should keep his mouth shut. He's no investment in this when it comes to the family audience that you're supposed to be catering to under the Disney brand. There you are.
All right. As for me, Disney, this gives Chapek a little more ammo to get away from the agenda-driven bullshit, because it's another movie that flopped that shouldn't have. As far as Pixar goes, when they fired Lasseter, Pixar walked out the door. And at this point, Pixar could have been one of those brands like Disney that built itself up and was mentioned alongside Disney in a respect that people knew that there was a difference to it. And now at this point, it's just kind of sullied whatever name they had built for themselves. As far as the woke agenda, again, going back to part A, people like Chapek and Zasloff and other people in Hollywood who are trying to get things back to profit, not agendas. This is the kind of thing they need. And one of the reasons it failed and outright, like I'd say if you polled 10 parents, like at least 7 or 8 of them are going to say that this whole gay kiss nonsense was one of the reasons they avoided it. So yeah, I think that's my response to that, Andre.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. This is something that you can see from like the covering, because Scott Mendelson in Forbes, and when it's Scott Mendelson, then it's not really Forbes so much as it is the entertainment media complex under the guise of Forbes. But still, like he wrote an article claiming that, oh no, they went into the Solo, a Star Wars story trap again. Has nothing to do with anyone else or anything else, which tells me, oh yeah.
Wow, they used the Solo as an excuse? Wow.
Yeah, he used the Solo excuse. He went with the Chewbacca defense and the Solo excuse.
Nice South Park reference, yes.
Which tells me that it's deathly afraid of admitting that, the perception really did a number on this. And I think it did. I think that what we are seeing is the pendulum swinging the other way. Because the thing to keep in mind here is that the pendulum has now gone into a complete extreme, and it didn't happen on its own. It wasn't natural. It wasn't driven by the people. It wasn't driven by any kind of fad. It was artificial. The pendulum was artificially raised, and they're artificially trying to keep it there. But the problem is that now you have the movement. Now you have genuine pushback, not just from financial quarters, but people are waking up. And all the ESG money in the world will not make up for the fact that the audience isn't showing up. And that is going to force a change. And in this sense, I'm actually really happy about this movie flopping right now, because it does give JPEG more ammunition. This is something that he can take back to the board and see, look at all this, look at what's going on here. We're going to need to fire some more Peter Wrights. And Peter Rice, however much Hollywood loves him, certainly woke Hollywood, he had to go. He was a complete disaster for Disney, and there are other people like him still there. They are the ones really pushing for this, and they need to go. And Disney cannot begin any kind of healing until every single Peter Rice is gone from Disney. Only then, when all the Peter Rices are gone, that's when you can get rid of the Kathleen Kennedys. That's when you can get rid of the Pablo Hidalgos. After that is when you can get rid of the nuts people in marketing. But you have to begin with getting rid of the rot at the top of the company. And this right here gives JPEG and the board more ammunition to get rid of the rot at the very top. That's my take on that.
Yep. And then this is, like I said, when we're hitting, above expectations. We've had movies performing, in some cases, beyond what they did before the goof. So, like, in that respect, there's no excuse for Pixar. And whatever excuse they come up with is bullshit at this point. So,